So good afternoon, everyone. Kalispera. On behalf of Impact, I can see all my colleagues are here. Elena, Samia, Anna. On behalf of this blended intensive program, I would like to welcome you in the third online session. As I told you, during this week, I will share with you a group essay that you should work together in multinational teams. I will assign one of Impact colleagues to each one of the team in order to be a moderator for the preparation of this group project that you are going to present, whoever will come in Hanya during May, at the end of May. And also some other things that I would like to promote, but of course I have to discuss with the organizational team, which are my colleagues, that they are present. Also some 2 or 3, let's say, roundtable discussions that I would like to provide the floor to the students, together with some students that they are high officials in the European Commission, to discuss some issues like peace and stability, internationalization, how internationalization can boost stability, communication between culture, between nations. I would like the opinion of the students, and this is very important for the universities to become better. But this is not the time for this now. I just, pre-announce activities that we are going to receive. I would like to thank Anna from Applied Universities of Tarnow. It was very nice pleasure for me to meet Anna in one of the international events that we have organized, if I remember well, in Citia, in the first Athena Technology Forum. And through this communication, Anna is a colleague, is a partner in this kind of activities. This is an example for you about the impact of internationalization. Last weekend, we have a wonderful event that Elena has organized. We check the impact of internationalization within academics, and we discuss, what is the impact in all levels. But here you can see that these people that you are participating right now in this BIP, your student colleagues all over the world, they are going to become your future partners. Remember this. This is the best network that you can do ever, for holidays, for business, for academic collaboration. Remember this, because this is very important to build your network. There's a famous movie in Hollywood, the people that you know. It's very important, this, for everything. So Anna, I would like to provide you the floor to guide us, through this multicultural communication. I'm one of your students today, and I'm here to listen to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kostas. I will have a task for you at the end. Hopefully you'll enjoy that. But let me just start by sharing the screen. And
just a moment, we have a request from our Elena. Would like to all of you stop sharing the screen and all of us to switch on the camera. So if stop sharing and everyone, view, I think it's gallery, no? Please, mute your microphone. I speak English. Emily, you can switch on your camera, and Finn. This is a request from Elena. Excellent. Thank you, Emily. I own you.
Okay, we can begin. That's fine. I took some pictures. We'll have
So the floor is you, Anna. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Okay. Hopefully you will soon see my presentation. Well, more specifically, the title of the presentation and my name and affiliation again. Just 2 words about myself. Some of my students are here, so they know who I am. But for other people, I'm a teacher of English, basically speaking. I'm, in academic terms, that's an applied linguist. But my heart has always been with teaching the language. And I got interested in intercultural communication when I noticed that language is not enough when it comes to communicating across cultures. So my task for my job for today is to define and operationalize, that's a big word, intercultural communication as a concept. And my ambitious agenda, which hopefully will show in a moment, or not. Okay, it has. Contains 9 points. Oh my gosh, hopefully we'll manage before midnight. So first of all, I would like to define the terms, and I would like actually you to define the terms because it's you who needs to understand it. So I thought it might make sense that you actually search for definitions and then we discuss them together. And then we discuss an example of what happens if the last definition doesn't get applied in real life. So, because the last thing we define is intercultural communication, the previous terms, communication, language, culture, are kind of parts of the last one. Then we get down to selected intercultural communication theories. You can imagine how robust the field is with so many different cultures. People are researching it actively. But I will just focus on one. I will mention two others that I think are important to know about, but I will discuss in tiny little more detail. One theory, Hofstadter's cultural dimension theory, and then it's actually your, the floor will be yours because you will be using a tool that will help you get to know, okay, find out about what might go wrong and why it might go wrong when you communicate across cultures. Hopefully we'll have enough time to talk about some issues that might result from those differences in cultures, in values, and eventually we'll get down to trying to solve some problems. And then conclusions, and you're free to go. Now, starting with the first individual task. You go online on your devices or on the laptops, computers, wherever you are, and you try to find definitions of the 5 terms: language, culture, communication, intercultural communication, intercultural competence. When you have a definition, just volunteer that you have found one, quote it, and say where you found it, because very often the source says a lot about the content of the definition. So we'll try to discuss sources as well. Don't take too long. Don't go very deep into defining the concept. I'll give you 5 minutes and then I'll ask for volunteers. Hopefully there will be some. 5 minutes.
Do we need to write it somewhere, or it's just for
You don't have to write it. You just volunteer and say it. Okay?
Oh, yeah, great. Thank you.
So Anna, we have a lot of students that they are still joining. So I'm going to repeat that what we are doing, we are looking for the transparency that Anna has shared, and we are trying to identify the meaning of these words. And Anna will ask, someone of us to give his or her perspective. Thank you.
Very much. Thank you. I have just noticed that there are 73 students now. Yes, you're right.
Number does not count. Engagement counts. How many of them they
Absolutely.
will speak? 73 they should speak.
Absolutely.
You can advise ChatGPT as well.
Well, if you quote the source, we will know it's ChatGPT. Well, remember to quote the source. We can discuss ChatGPT some other time, but we'll see what it says as well. If you quote it, that's fine. Okay, you have a minute. Now, is anybody ready with the definition of language? What did you find as the definition of language? Just volunteer. Stanisław, you're welcome.
Yeah, hello. Can you hear me?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, so I found the definition of a language that states that language is a system of communication consisting of words, sounds, and grammar. And this definition was taken from the website of Cambridge Dictionary.
Very good. Yeah, great. Anybody else wants to add anything? Have you found any other definitions than words, grammar, and word sounds and grammar? Alexandra cannot hear anything. I'm afraid we cannot help. Okay.
I think that you are the only one, Alexandra. Please try to check your audio source. So go down to the left.
I
corner.
don't think it's helping her that much because I think she can't hear you. So you need to write it in the chat in order.
Correct. I just forget this moment.
Now, coming back to our definitions. So what about culture? What have you found as a
I
definition?
think Rafa is ready.
Rafa, you're welcome.
Hello. I'm giving the definition of language, and then I can give the definition of culture as well.
Absolutely, you're welcome.
So the language, I found this definition from the British website, which is called Britannica. So a language is a system of conversational, spoken, manual, or written symbols by means of which human beings express themselves.
That's a very nice definition. If you can wait with your definition of language, of culture for a moment,
Sure.
can I just point out how much broader this definition is, because it considers language to be not just what we say, but also what we show. If we talk about all kinds of signs, they might be considered as language as well. And that's very, very useful for our future discussion. Now, what's your definition of language, of culture, sorry?
So it's from the same website. It's saying that culture refers to the beliefs, customs, arts, and social behaviors of a particular society, group, or place.
Very nice, broad definition with a lot of different elements. Well done. And a good source. Britannica is well-established source. We've got Rotem also with a hand up. You're welcome.
Thank you. So, by the American Psychological Association, culture is defined by the values, beliefs, language, rituals, traditions, and other behaviors that are passed from one generation to another within any social group.
And that's also a great source and a very broad definition. What I miss about the definition is the artifacts, like architecture, for example, but it can be incorporated into some of the symbols that IPA also mentions later on. Now, what about communication? What do you think? How can we define what communication is? Elena, you're welcome.
Yes, hello, can you hear me?
Perfectly well.
Okay, so communication is the general view of communication is that it is an interaction within a social context. Communication usually involves a sender, a source, and a receiver. It involves the intercultural interlocutors exchanging signals. These signals could be verbal or graphic. It could be gestural or visual, photographic, and also in a sense, communication involves using codes that are done within the eyes, body movement, or sounds made with the voice. So the source is ResearchGate by Florence Foluka from University of Nigeria.
Very nice. So it's an article. It's a research article, I understand. Okay. Now, if we have a look at, would anybody like to add anything to communication itself as a definition?
I think Aviv Mizrahi would like to speak, but she's raising her physical hand and not the.
Okay, if you
I
raise
don't know how to raise my digital hand.
Okay.
If you go to next to the reactions, there is a button says raise hand on the options. So Aviv, the floor is yours. You will find it later
You're
on.
welcome. Thank you, Kristen.
I think it's already been said, but communication is commonly defined as transition of information, whether it be signals or words.
Okay, transition of information. Is it your definition or have you quoted it from somewhere?
No, it's from Wikipedia.
Okay, that's fine. Well, that's definitely also important for communication to be useful. So the transfer of information is definitely one of the main features of communicative processes. While Wikipedia can be a good start, remember every time you look into it, it might look different because people might have edited it, and it's much safer to quote sources that have been reviewed or that have got a form that cannot be changed by everybody. Anyway, how about intercultural communication? Now we come to probably a bit more interesting definitions. Nika is first on the list in my
Hello.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Definition of intercultural communication. Intercultural communication is the study and practice of communication across cultural content. It applies equality to domestic cultural differences such as ethnicity and gender, and the international differences such as those associated with nationality or world religion. I found it in IDR Institute on the site.
Okay, and that's an institute which has to do with communication, if I.
Yes, just.
Right.
I'll check it again. It's Ideal Institute, the name is of it.
Right, thank you very much. Anybody would like to add anything to this definition of intercultural communication? I've got Karen, you're welcome.
Okay, so I've gathered, okay, so my definition is an umbrella term for interactions between people from different cultural or subcultural backgrounds intended to lead to shared understandings of messages. It's from Oxford Reference.
Right, very nice. And then again, shared messages is the main core of this definition. Let's keep it in mind. Remember, the messages must reach from one culture to another culture. Now, I would like to move on to intercultural competence. If anybody would like to add anything to intercultural communication, they could in the meantime. But I've got Saleh.
Yeah, I just Googled it, to be honest. It says here the ability to function effectively across cultures, to think and act appropriately, and to communicate and work with people from different cultural backgrounds at home or abroad.
Very nice. Where did you find it?
From the Monash University.
Very nice. It's probably published on their website as a vision or mission of what they want to achieve. That's very nice. Lior, would you like to add something?
Yes, I wanted to do the Monash University one, but seeing that I won't be doing it, so the interpretation by Eli on language consultative from Germany, they say it is essentially the ability to communicate effectively across cultures and to work with people from different cultural backgrounds.
Very nice. Yes, great. Any other views on intercultural competence that anybody would like to come up with? Well, that's just fine.
I think it was Rafa that would like to say something.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Hi again. You will find the definition from the COE's website, which says that the intercultural competence is the ability to understand and respect each other across all types of cultural barriers.
Very well. The ability to understand and respect, that's a very nice definition. Great. And the website, I think, is a consultancy website. So
yes,
yeah, they should know very well what intercultural competence is, because they will be teaching people what it is really. Now, what I'd like to do now is walk you through the definitions that I'd like to share with you and discuss a little bit what you have said, how it matches my quotes. You did mention that language is a system of structures used for communication, and these structures might contain words, grammatical constructions, but what is important, I think, is the social practice of interpreting and creating meaning of these words and structures. Okay, I don't want to go into language too far because that's my cup of tea. So yeah, I could go on and on about it. But if you just think of how amazing it is that we all agree that a table is called a table, while when you look at it, it might take all kinds of shapes and sizes, that might be made of all kinds of materials. Yet, we all agree when somebody says table, we know what they mean and how this shared meaning is acquired. And first of all, how it was created is an amazing thing. So, but we all agree that each society has got this system which is based on social agreement, social agreement of the interpretation of these symbols, because what's a word? It's a sound. which is like a symbol that we all agree on what it means. And the same is true about grammatical constructions. If I say you have to, you know it's different from you should, because there is a social agreement on how these two sounds differ in practice. So let's keep language as it is. Culture, okay. I have made a note at the bottom that Lindsay and Baldwin tried to keep a list of definitions of culture, and in 2006 they stopped at more than 300 definitions that they located. There are certainly a lot more at the moment, but what you have said actually appears in most of them. Culture is defined again as a set of symbols, behaviors, and values. Now, all of these are recognizable and understandable by a society, so by those who belong to a particular cultural group. And this picture you see in the corner of the screen, I think it's a well-known picture. You might have seen it before, because it represents culture and it tells you how much there is which is not easily recognizable. What we see, well, these will be the objects like architecture, the objects like, well, certain meals that we have at certain times, the objects like certain words that we say in certain contexts. But all of these are motivated by our behaviors. So it's how we feel what we mean, actually. And it's quite interesting. Honestly, I quite disagree with what we say with the middle of the iceberg under the water. I think it should say what we mean, not what we say, because what we see or hear should be on top. I haven't found a picture like that and not skilled enough to make one, but I think that's more appropriate to say that what is under the water is what we mean. Kostas, you're welcome.
Thank you. I think that what we say, I mean, if you combine this, what we say is not only orally, it's also our body language and our tone as well. So this reveals, the combination of this reveals what do we mean. Sometimes what do we believe, we don't say. Or it's very hard, to transmit.
Formulate.
This is my perception. So in order to say that, somehow I agree, because it's below the surface. But this is my opinion.
Yeah, that's fine. You're most welcome. With all these, with culture, it's like we each have a certain set of beliefs or opinions. But remember, we are the product of our cultures. And we each have to take a step back. Now, when I say that what we mean is under the water is not always visible, I say that as my gosh, Erasmus coordinator of, I've been trying to count the years and it's more than 2 decades. I've been Erasmus coordinator of English philology students. And very early, I noticed that what they said was interpreted differently from what they meant to say. And they would get into trouble with my colleagues a lot, because Polish educational culture is quite specific. And if you don't say the right things, you might mean well, but you disappoint or even offend the teachers. Yes, Aviv, you're welcome.
I wanted to add that I listened to this podcast, I think a year ago, and they said that there's a major difference between people that speaks language with this culture filler words and filler sounds, and you can see the difference between someone that speaks with the right filler sounds between sentences. For example, if I'm getting stuck, I'm gonna say but if a French person is getting stuck, they might say, oh. And there's a major difference in the understanding of the person speaking to you when they use the right filler sounds in comparison to people who don't. So
yeah, the filler sounds is a good example because in certain cultures is considered uneducated, and you may simply be looked down on. You may be despised because you use the filler sound, which in your culture is normal. Nobody notices it, and in another culture, it actually stigmatizes you. So
yeah, because it's more defined to an untrained ear. For example, you will sound the M much more harsher than you'll hear the or something like that because you're not used to it as much.
yeah, and my point is when people stigmatize your, for example, what they do, they don't take the step back. They don't give it a thought, okay, who is this person? Why is this person doing it? Their first impression is what counts, and their first impression is produced by the software of the mind, as Hofstadter names culture. The software of the mind that we all grow up in, and which grows on us, kind of. With time, we enjoy it, and we believe it is the right way to go, to think. That might be called ethnocentrism later on, but well, that's the way we are. We grow up in certain culture, and we have to consciously take the step back and give ourselves some time to consider or evaluate what we have just experienced. We will come back to it. So, because the discussion on culture could go on and on, but we will come back to this definitely. Now, what I need to go on to is the definition of communication. And again, your definitions were nice. It is the process of exchange of information. But I want, again, to come back to this interpretative nature of communication. Because if we agreed at the time of defining language that language is full of symbols, and so is culture, it's also full of symbols, then all these symbols, they have been agreed on within a certain society, and if they are interpreted within the society, the interpretation is always the same. Now, someone who comes from another culture, someone who comes from elsewhere, needs to do the interpretation. The interpretation is dependent and interdependent on the people who try to communicate, on the participants of the act of communication. It is contextual, obviously. So the same words might be offensive in one context and might be very much well accepted in another context, but I'm sure you know that. Okay, now, intercultural communication. I like this quote from Rogers and Steinfeld because I like strange words, and this particular quote contains a strange word. They say that intercultural communication is the exchange of information between individuals who are unalike culturally. Very nice expression, unalike culturally, but it matches what you said. Yes, Kostas, do you want me to come back?
I have a question because you mentioned something very nice before. You spoke about cultural symbols, if I got it well. So can you give me an example of cultural symbols?
Yeah, a symbol for culture, that would be anything you might imagine, like a mime, a gesture, an object. For growth, a cultural symbol is probably an egg during Easter.
Okay, okay.
Right? But so is dzień dobry, as opposed as cześć, which correspond to good morning and hi. And it's a symbol because if I say dzień dobry, which is good morning, I communicate respect, I communicate distance, social distance. If I say cześć, which is hello, I communicate closeness, social closeness, so some close relationship. And that's the symbolic nature of many different elements. I chose language first because that's my closest area. But if you go on to architecture, which I like as well. Now, if you look at the different architectural styles, they all represent what was important from the point of view of values at that time. The medieval architecture is really bare. It's quite simple, but Baroque architecture is, well, emphasizes wealth and luxury, and lush decorations show that life should be enjoyed. So different values produce different symbols that are later interpreted in a certain way. Well, but if I can go on, intercultural competence. Again, you defined it well. It's the ability to understand people from another culture. And what I like about Johnson and his collaborates definition is the three elements that they want people to notice, the three elements that need to be present if a person is interculturally competent. They should have the knowledge, the skills, and the personal attributes. Now, just a moment of focus on what kind of knowledge. Knowledge about yourself, first of all, and knowledge about the other side. So understanding yourself and the culture you come from helps you understand others and helps you communicate with others. Skills, being able to put the knowledge into practice, quite simply, that comes with experience, that comes with many different encounters with people, people from other cultures. Now, personal attributes. In other definitions, I found the word attitudes. And I think attitude might be more explicatory. The attitude or the personal attributes make you want to use the knowledge and the skills, because you might know about things, you might be able to do it, but you might not care. And if you don't care, it's just as well as if you do not know or do not know how to. So all three have to be there to make the intercultural communication work. Now, if you have any questions, put them down, because I wouldn't like to stay here with you till early hours of the morning. Midnight will be fine, but after that, not really. And we've got quite a lot to go for. What I'd like you to do now is to relax a little bit, watch a minute of a video. But while you're watching, think of what caused the misunderstanding, because the video will show some miscommunication, misunderstanding, and of course, culture will be involved. But also, who suffered because of this misunderstanding, try to decide who suffered and who do you feel sorry for. I will come back to the questions later on. So now I have hedged a number of different ways of being able to watch the video. I will try to, first of all, not sure what happened, but just wanted to. No. Who knows? Yes. Yes. Good.
You need to share the audio as well. So if this audio, stop sharing, share again your screen, and on the top, on the down left corner, it says sound audio as well. So click there.
Down left. Yes, there is. Okay. There is not much audio in this video. I mean, first of all, try to comprehend the context and see what happened, why it happened, and who do you feel sorry for. Okay, let's try. It's just a minute, and I've got to probably find it because it's the second short film. After the first minute comes our film.
HSBC, the world's local bank.
The English believe it's a slur on your host's food if you don't clear your plate. Whereas the Chinese feel you're questioning their generosity if you do. At HSBC, we never underestimate the importance of local knowledge. Which is why we have local banks staffed by local people in over 80 countries across the globe. HSBC, the world's local bank.
Okay, I hope you enjoyed that. And now, oh, good. And now, just any ideas? Yes, Saleh, you're welcome.
Okay, first of all, it was funny. What caused the misunderstanding? I would say the English person that came unprepared. He didn't prepare himself for the culture. So that's what caused the misunderstanding, and he suffered. Exactly, and he suffered from the misunderstanding. And who do I feel sorry for? The English guy, because he came unprepared. Like, I wouldn't blame the Japan or Chinese.
Yeah, well done.
Can I add something on this? That's why now, according to the Harvard Business Review, that a lot of international companies, before you move to another country, they provide training to their employees for local cultures and how they can identify these, I would like the expression of Anna, these cultural symbols. So they are preparing you. Even your big universities are doing this. This is based to what Saleh has mentioned in order to be more prepared.
Yeah, that's definitely a good idea. Nika, you're welcome to add anything.
Also, sorry, I don't think that it was like because of that they did not know English. It was a cultural thing, because when he finished up all food, they thought he liked it and asked them to add more, because as I know, the cultural is when you are eating well and making, how they say, a little bit noise, it means that you like it so much and they appreciate it. And other hand was that this Englishman did not know that about their culture, so he was just eating, and they understood like different thing. He likes it, so that's why he finished up. That's why it was like suffering from English guy, but it's not easy to them as well because they show their culture.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for this note.
Also, Anna, we have some comments regarding your questions in the chat. So Katerina
Okay.
Vlachaki, who is the responsible of AIDS and new public relations, she's mentioning you always have to do your homework before a different intercultural experience if you want it to be succeeded. And also I would like to add, these international courses is doing, exactly what a trip can provide to you, to learn to communicate with different nationalities. So when you come to Greece, never say no. Always you will say yes, whatever they say. This is a tip, all right? Especially to me.
What do you mean say yes all the time?
I mean, it depends on the question, my friend. A lot. But when someone is providing you food, you should say yes. Never say no. Eat
Okay.
It reminds me that I just wanted to say that when me and my boyfriend was in Greece, we were in a restaurant, and in Israel, it's okay if you don't like something, you can tell to the waiter, oh, I don't like it, I don't want it. But the waiter came and gave us something that I didn't want to eat because we had maza, and I said, I don't want it. And my boyfriend told me, it's unpolite, just eat it. And I was like, oh no. And he told me you have to, because in this culture in Greece, you can't say no to the waiter. It's not polite. You can't tell him, I don't like it. You have to eat it. And I ate it.
Absolutely. Well, thank you very much. Now, what I'd like you to realize is one thing. We all empathized with the Brit. We identified with him because we feel like him, really. However, the people who suffered were the hosts. This fish in their culture is extremely expensive. So what they encountered was also something that we can say, they suffered some setback. We never think about it. Well, there are a few reasons for it. First of all, we see a group and we think that the single person is always worse off, in a worse position. And also, we think the host should be respected. And that's also how our cultures have made us think. But honestly, I think both sides should have done their homework. And both sides, doesn't matter whether you're a host or a guest, you should learn about the other side. Now, it's just a taste of what might go wrong. And I thought you might need a bit of a break from my long speech before. And also a bit of a break, just a minute, move. Oh, yes. A bit of a break before we dive into, we dive into the intercultural communication theories. If I can just whiz through the first two, I will get down to Hofstede's theory and stay there for a bit longer. Now, so first of all, Edward Hall's theory, high context, low context cultures. And all I have to say is you should realize that in accordance with his research, people belong to either of these two different dichotomies. Well, they are not really dichotomies. People belong to either one side of the spectrum or the other side of the spectrum. And how far they are on this spectrum is another story. And you've got to get down to Hall's research to find out about individual countries on this spectrum. Anyway, what does it mean, a country with high context or low context culture? Well, in a country of high context culture, what is said does not reflect verbatim, so literally, what is thought. it is implied, it is it's assumed it will be understood in due time. However, it is not stated in a very direct way. And then there is the other spectrum, the low context cultures. Cultures where things are actually stated clearly. And now Hall noticed that when representatives of these two cultures meet, they find it very difficult to communicate because of the differences in their habits, in their communicative habits. They may be speaking the same common, usually foreign language. They might be speaking one of these countries' languages, but still, the way they expect to be told about facts, about perceptions, will make it very difficult for communication to happen. Now, moving on to the second model that I want to mention, and I think I did mention at the beginning that there are, well, more than 20 models I know of, and I'm sure there are more. So it's a very, very small selection, very small sample of what there is to research. If you are interested, you can go into them and dive, and it's an ocean of information. But the second model that I would like you to be aware of is Trompenaar's model of the national culture differences. I chose Trompenaar because he's a good introduction to the next theory that we are going to look into in a little bit more detail. And Trompenaar, he focused on how cultures approach conflict, how cultures organize relationships, and how people work in teams in different cultures. And he also looked at cultures from the point of view of values shared by the groups of people. So he looked at cultures and he named these as dimensions, and he looked at them from the perspective of universalism and particularism. And universally oriented cultures, rules are extremely important, and everything must be regulated in particularism, in particular countries or cultures. Relationships are more important than rules, and rules can be bent or somehow forgotten if relationships were to suffer. And again, see how it might affect communication. Of course, if you go into his research and research of others who based on his findings, you can easily find that people who come from these two extremes, they find it very difficult to cooperate in teams, for example, because if you come from a country or a culture that values relationships and you like the people in your team, you will not criticize them openly, even if they are doing a terrible job, because you worry about the relationship and the product or the project that you're working on suffers. On the other hand, rule-oriented cultures may be extremely direct and may not be able to create the relationship that the other culture actually needs to cooperate well. Now, the Trompenaars was very explicit in making, in providing people with the need for the rules that he wanted people to follow when it comes to intercultural communication, but he pointed at cultural sensitivity when it comes to approaching your conversation partner. So It was also him who said, well, you've got to not just do the research, but also about the other side, but also understand your own culture. Take this step back and see how you two differ. And only after that, you can actually adapt your communication, discuss it with the other side, and see what happens. Think of this example in the restaurant. Well, a single exchange of communicative messages, simple exchange would have been enough to actually end the trauma of this Englishman. And it didn't happen because he comes from a culture where you suffer, you do not complain. And the Chinese people, they will do anything to make others happy. And they, in their thinking, they were actually making him happy. So this lack of communication, but also lack of taking this step back and understanding the differences was a problem. Now, finally, my main hero today, Hofstede, and a few words about Hofstede as a person, and about his research as well before we look at what he has found out. He was an employee of IBM, a huge company. And at that time, in the 1970s, 80s, especially 80s, fast-growing company. And his bosses realized that the same management techniques worked very well in some companies, terribly badly in others. And they said, well, we need to know why this is happening because we've been changing the managers and it didn't help. So what is it about those companies, and there were many, not just one, that they do not somehow flourish, do not work well with the perfect management techniques that make other companies do really well. They gave him a team of researchers, lots of money. So he created a questionnaire. He ran it across thousands of, if I remember well, 12,000 employees of IBM. And he got lots of data. Now, he didn't quite know how to make sense of the data because he tried to analyze companies and it didn't work. But when he put together questionnaires of nationals, remember IBM is a multinational company, so in a country, in a given country, they might have employees from different countries. But when he put together questionnaires of nationality, by nationality, he started noticing some patterns. Okay, I will spare you the other areas that he looked into, like symbols, traditions, and what he called heroes, which is kind of role models. I will focus on his research on values in different countries, because he found out that the reason why those managers did not get any results was because the people they managed did not share the values that the manager had. And they kind of could not communicate because of that reason. His way of approaching the problem of values was a bit different from his predecessors. He identified first 5, then 6. I put a full list of different, what he called dimensions or variables, which are kind of clusters of values. So power distance, individualism versus collectivism, masculinity versus femininity. And this one was changed later on because of political correctness. It was assumed that it's not fair to call some societies masculine, others feminine. So nowadays, it's motivation for success, the name of this particular dimension. Uncertainty avoidance, so avoiding the unknown, long-term orientation, short-term orientation, indulgence versus restraint. Now, a few words about each of them because you're going to read about them later on, but I would like to prime you on this so that you know what you're looking at. Now, power distance, according to Hofstede, is the degree to which people accept the fact that there is inequality in the world. So that the boss is more important than the employee. And this inequality, in some countries, it appears to be accepted and kind of expected. And in other countries, it is not even noticeable. Or if somebody tries to demonstrate it, it is very much unwelcome. Now, individualism and collectivism, these two are quite self-explanatory, and it's the degree to which people either look after themselves as an individual or look after the group they are in. And I think this will be quite clear. Now, when it comes to this motivation for success or masculinity and femininity, it's about the appreciation of achievements, appreciation of material rewards for success that was supposed to be masculine, or which now means high index in motivation for success, and the low index or femininity of the society means that the society is after quality of life rather than material rewards for success. Uncertainty avoidance index, that's a very interesting dimension because Hofstede noticed that in some countries, there is a need for structure, a need for rules, a need for regulations, because people find it very difficult to accept the unknown, the unexpected, something which is, which might happen in all kinds of ways. They need to know what is possible to happen. So they need rules, they need regulations, they need deadlines, they need descriptions of tasks and so on. In other countries, quite the opposite. They are much more relaxed and they accept the possible, they accept the unknown, and they are comfortable with the unknown. Now, the last two, the last but one, long-term orientation versus short-term orientation. It's about how societies either look into the past or into the future. If you are a short-term oriented society, then you look into the past. You observe your traditions, they are extremely important to you, and you will do anything to preserve them. If you're a long-term oriented society, then you look into the future. You're more flexible with these traditions. You don't really care about gender roles and so on, because you are happy to change that. Now, the last one, indulgence versus restraint, Hofstede added it at some point after another round of questionnaires. And he noticed that in some societies, it is typical to withhold immediate gratification and wait for gratification, which might come later. And in other societies, it is much more normal, it is much more acceptable as well to actually indulge yourself now, even if it means that your gratification later might not be so great. Now, these are the cultural dimensions at a glance, obviously. there is a lovely book on cultures and organizations that you can lay your hands on anytime. It's accessible on Hofstede's. Okay, it's not accessible as such, but there are excerpts on Hofstede's website that you will see later on. Now, what I need you to do now is use a country comparison tool. This tool, you have a screen of from that tool here, will show you your countries or other countries as well, scores in these dimensions. And underneath, if you click on any of these power distance, individualism, or long-term orientation, there will be a description of, rather brief description of your country as refers to this particular dimension. If you type in more countries, you will see, I think you can type in up to 4 countries in the bar. So you can actually compare countries as well. But for now, what I'd like you to do is to scan the QR code and type your country in the bar. It's at the bottom of your screen when you go there, and then try to analyze the graph that appears, because the graph will spring up. Try to read the description below. If you click on the read on at the bottom of the screen, you will see all the descriptions, but you can also come back to the graph and click on the bar, and then you read the description of another dimension. And be ready to comment on these descriptions in about 10 minutes. Yes, Kostas?
I have a question. I just typed, Greece, and it appears, some, kind of categories. I mean, how relevant are these categories a long time? Because some of them, for example...
Can I stop you here?
I stop myself.
Because this is some critical thinking that we will be doing later on. Well, what I would like people to do is just read the descriptions and see which of these makes sense to you, which of these might not make sense to you as a national of that country. Be very critical. We will have time to discuss it in a moment, but for now, just take your time, 10 minutes. This is also the time to catch a cup of coffee if you need it, and enjoy it. Is that okay, Kostas?
No, I just made the comparison between Greece and Israel. In this comparison, I disagree with the most recent UN, let's say, who are the happiest people in the world. And, I would like to comment something. I can wait. I can wait. I told you I'm a student.
Thank you. Thank you. So 10 minutes starting now.
Can you stop the share screen?
Sure. Screen if you...
What is the indulgence bar mean?
Okay, indulgence is indulgence is looking for pleasures.
Yeah, I know what the meaning of the word indulgence. I just don't understand how it comes about in a country defined.
Yeah, I can tell you about Poland. Polish, I will probably be giving our Polish students a head start, but hopefully. Well, if we as Poles have kids and we have a choice, do we save for the future education of our kids, even if they are 5, 7 years old? Or do we go for expensive holidays? We choose to save for the future of the kids.
Depends on the culture, but most likely we will save.
This will depend on the culture you come from, yes. In Poland, yes, we do have restaurants, But if you compare the number of people going to restaurants in Poland and in a culture where indulgence is much higher, our indulgence is very low. The number of people who use restaurants is huge in comparison to Poland.
Yeah, that's why I don't understand why I just put like Israel in the comparison thingy, and it showed me that our indulgence is 0, and I don't agree with that at all, because we have a lot of restaurants. It's like very acceptable to go on vacation at least once a year. We're not like such a.
It's not about being socially unacceptable. It's about choices that people are likely to make.
Yeah, I know. I'm just saying, like, we're kind of spendy and we like restaurants and we like to go out and travel and stuff like that.
Have a look at the explanation underneath. If you click on the bar or if you click on indulgence, under the graph, you will have an explanation of what it means for Israel and why they think that this particular explanation makes sense.
That says there's no score for Israel on indulgence. Not like there's not enough data, it seems.
It seems there are, yeah, that's true. In some countries, and that's especially true about countries in the Middle East, there is, okay, I should say that in Hofstede's questionnaires, there is always, I do not want to say option. And it is frequently chosen in many Middle Eastern countries. And then there is
not to answer this question in the questionnaire when they search for it.
They don't want to answer the question. Mm-hmm.
Because we are spendy and we're ashamed of it.
Good.
I guess if we would answer, it would be really high.
I will give you the chance to answer because during our meeting in Hania, I will give you the questionnaire. I will say later on why and what for, but you will have a chance to put the score up.
Don't worry, I'll expose us. So having a low power distance is a good thing, right?
Remember, in culture, there is no good and bad. It's the way it is. And when you know what way it is, you can devise some strategies to cope with it. And you don't get offended because it's different from what you have expected.
Okay. Yeah.
To know your enemy, basically.
No, we don't think the people are enemies.
Frenemies. Let's say frenemies.
Yeah. But I know that what I'm saying often gets taken as teaching people how to manipulate others.
Anna.
Yes, sure.
Know your enemies expression in Hebrew. It doesn't mean anything about enemies. It's
really?
Also culturally, definitely.
Okay.
You can say it about your supermarket, about the ice cream. It's nothing about enemies.
It's like saying know your competition or something like that. It's more like
know your friends, know your family.
Yeah.
I said that on about Elad before a test he gave me.
Very sensitive these days.
Can you see how interpretative words can be? That's the interpretative nature of words. And if you have ever read The Little Prince, have a look again. You will find a very nice quote there words are the greatest source of misunderstanding.
Also signs, you know, I saw this YouTube video which says that this in Israel at least it's meant, oh, okay, great, good, fine. And if you do that in Argentina, which I discovered later, it's true because my boyfriend is Argentinian. If you do that to someone in Argentina, it's basically like raising your middle fingers at them. And they will really not appreciate it. It will really not be great.
And if you do it in Italy, it's a sexual invitation. So be careful with this. And there is a well-known picture of the Italian Prime Minister and Angela Merkel.
Oh, I see where this goes. Oh.
Yeah. Okay, 2 more minutes. Now, Costas has disappeared. Costas, it would help a lot if you could put people in rooms now, because I'd like more people to make comments and in.
Okay, do you want me to split them in rooms?
Yes, please.
Okay.
But just prepare the rooms and I will tell you when, okay?
Okay, no problem. How many people do you like per room?
How many people have we
5?
got?
Now we are 67.
5, 6, 7 as it's convenient to you. We've got 67 people. Let's say 6 people in the room, then we have 10 people speaking later on.
Yeah. All right, I'm ready. Do you want me to do it right now or do we have wait?
1 more minute.
This is a cultural symbol from Greece. We never mean what we say. You should look at us.
Okay.
I got you, baby.
Okay. Now, guys, hopefully you have read what you were supposed to read and you can enjoy reading about it later on. But now try to comment on what you have read. So which parts of the description actually fit your culture well? And is there anything that you do not consider true about your culture? Yeah, Kennedy, just a moment. You will be put in groups and you can discuss it in groups. What I haven't put down in this slide is choose a speaker later on, someone who will summarize the discussion, because we will welcome, of course, everyone, but if you can summarize the discussion a little bit, that would help manage the discussion and manage the meeting, okay? So at the end of your discussion, decide who will summarize it for everyone. Okay, now, Kostas, are you ready to put people in groups?
Okay. Do you want me to do it now?
Yes, please.
Thank you. So people, you should have received, the invitation to join your room. And Anna, tell me to signal them how much time do they have within the room.
Okay, they have up to 7 minutes.
Okay. Broadcast message.
Anna,
Yes, sure.
I wanted to tell you it's a very interesting lecture.
Oh, thank you.
And this iceberg, I'm just thinking of while we are talking about, just communicating, how much deeper we need to go in order to understand each other.
This needs time, man. This needs many years, needs observation, needs openness. You know, it needs time. Look,
Yes,
you know,
it's amazing how deep it is.
it takes time, and you should be open to correct it. I'm telling you, when I was the first time on abroad, you know, one lady, I met a lady, I still remember this, and I still remember my reaction as a Greek. I met, you know, a British lady in the corridor the first day that I arrived in the student dormitory. She told me, see you later. This means in Greece, it's like a date, but in English, it's see you later. It's just see you later. I called my friends in Greece and I said like, man, we are very, you know, they like us a lot. She told me that, see you later. I went outside of the corridor and I was waiting. It takes time. Or, you know, I remember the other thing. I never say, I never use the word please, because in my culture, it's like, give it to me. You know, I never say, give it to me, please. So the first day, the first week, you know, the people in the group, they say like, oh, the new Greek is very unpolite. Say like, you know, someone told me, you know, they say that you are unpolite. Say, why I'm not polite? I'm very polite. What do they mean? You never say please, or you never hold the door for the next person to pass. So, I mean, it takes time, but it's a very nice, the impact then, it's huge.
Yeah,
it is amazing. It is amazing because
Have you changed Constance as a result of these virtual exchange programs you are involved in?
In some cases, yes. Yes, I say yes. In general, I have changed a lot, you know, since the first day of my time on abroad. Now it's very strange when I use too much the word please in Greek. They look, the rest of the Greeks, they look at me, you know, there's a problem with this guy. Just a moment, but we have these students here, Melissa, Eleni, oh, Tatiana, I know Tatiana, Alexandros, Bettina, Ayman, and Emmanuel. What is happening? Are you listening us? Okay, so I'm getting, this is a part of cultural intelligence.
Yes. I'll tell you, Kostas,
it's a Zoom culture now.
In Zoom, you have two things that can help you. One is that they do not need to, you just throw them to the rooms. So
just a moment, Eleni, just a moment. Eleni Voltiraki to everyone. Yes, we are listening, but you should go, Eleni, to a room. You have been assigned to a room. Do you know how to do it? Let me take you to a room, Eleni. Where are you? Okay, just a moment. I'm sorry, Elad, but I'm trying to find Eleni. Where is Eleni?
It should be on the unassigned. Ah, it is assigned.
It should be assigned.
It
Ah,
makes
okay.
us as
I moved
co-hosts.
to room 8. Room 8. Room 8? Where's room 8? Room 9, I would say. Okay, let's take you to room 9.
So how many rooms?
Yeah, never mind. Eleni, you have been moved. You should have received the message. Okay, she moved. One down.
Anna, the question is, Anna, the question is whether this source that you provided is reliable or not biased.
It's research. So we are going to talk about it later on.
There is no model that is not biased. All the models, they have a deviation.
They each have something.
Yeah.
I will talk about the bias of this one in a moment when students have spoken. And yeah, there are all kinds of bias here that you can worry about. But it's still some sort of clue which way we can go. And I'm going to test Kostas on this, how far it is true about it later on.
I'm ready to be your experimental.
Okay.
I think it's average of culture. If it is correct, it is average. And when you never talk to a country. You talk to a person,
The person.
and persons are different.
And also a lot due to the globalization, due to the social media,
Yeah.
and due to the exposure of so many information and interaction right now. I think even these cultural aspects, they will change because we are in contact every day. Independent if I'm Greece, from Israel, Poland, Austria, Germany, every day we interact somehow.
Yes, and we see behaviors and we
Yeah.
adapt them.
Exactly.
Still remember, you are okay. I will never forget my first time as a student in Britain. I was put in a family, and the family had 3 kids. The youngest was about a year and I don't know, 14 months maybe, and was beginning to talk. And beginning is just, you know, too much to say maybe. And she was having breakfast. I will never forget this. Her mom was hoovering this spoon in front of her and saying, Jessica, say please, please, Jessica, no, please, no breakfast. And when Jessica said something like, she got the spoon with oats. So we learned this culture. I brought it up because of Costa saying that he learned to say please too much. Now, we learned this culture from very early in our lives. We don't even realize it, but we are, yeah, I guess you're right. And we will be talking about it, that it does change. And it is another criticism of Hofstede, that he has not been updating, his team have not been updating this data. So, but I still believe that we are formed in a certain way by the environment we grow up in. So it makes sense to read around, definitely. Okay, I guess it would be like 1 more minute or even now, okay?
Yeah, I send them a message that they have 1 more
perfect.
minute.
Good.
And there's also is something into this when you talk about your own cultures, you in a way you try to convey the idea of how you see yourselves, but you're also thinking about how you want others to see your own culture.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So these
Just
are 2 different things.
a technical comment, Costas, when you open rooms, you can in the options decide on how many minutes, and then you don't need to close it, and they have a timer.
Okay, on the options, I should read.
On the options, you choose how many minutes, and then they have a counter, and they see it.
Okay. In the but I check options. It gives me only the option allow participants to choose a room.
No, they are also in the.
Probably, yeah. I will check it later on. Yes.
Yeah, I cannot do it from my because
Yeah,
I'm not.
yeah. So you say that there is a timer that is all the teams they can check.
2 things. One thing is a timer, and the second thing I do is they are not to choose if to go to the room or not. It sends them directly to the rooms, and then they don't need to do anything. They're already there, and no one's there.
Okay. All right. Okay. I will check it. Thank you. Thank you for these tips. Thank you. I think I will close now the rooms and they will come back.
Elad, what is that option? It's not assign rooms?
I don't remember. In my case, it's already the default. I can check it when I'll have my Zoom and I'll send it to you, Samia.
Excellent. Excellent.
Costas, I'm just reminding you that I need 3 minutes.
Yeah, don't worry. I remember. Always I remember.
Thank you. Thank you, Anna.
Israeli 3 minutes.
Oh, 3 minutes.
About. In Greece, we say approximately. So the people are coming back.
Good. Good.
But still, it takes 60 seconds. Still, we have rooms that, they are occupied. They're coming back. Okay.
Other people will be, I hope, coming back in the meantime. And I do hope you have enjoyed the discussions. So, speaker from room 1, how many rooms have we got, Costas? 9?
I think 9 rooms.
Okay. speaker from room 1. Could anyone summarize the discussions?
Yeah, hello. I'm from the room number 1, and our countries were Albania, Greece, Israel, Slovenia, and Turkey. So we noticed the most similarities in uncertainty avoidance, in which we had all very high numbers. It was also very similar on long-term orientation. Only we all had around 50. Only the Turkey was quite low on 15. And on indulgence, Slovenia and Greece had very similar numbers. Albania, or no, it wasn't Albania, it was Kosovo, but the person from Kosovo didn't find Kosovo, so they put Albania. And it was a bit of a lower number, 15. And just as we talked before, Israel had 0, so I guess no data, or it is 0. And yeah, this is about the most things we talked about.
Okay, now is there anything you considered untrue about your culture?
About my specific, I don't think so, because on a few rankings it was in the middle, which I kind of agreed. And also on the power distance, for example, there was a 71, and I guess it kind of is true. I'm from Slovenia. And also, I think motivation towards achievement and success is pretty low, which I don't think it should be that low, but mostly I agree. Mostly people here are just satisfied to work, and there's not too much motivation, but yeah, there are exceptions, I think.
Very well. Right, thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank
Room
you.
2, anybody?
Yeah, I could speak for room 2.
Welcome.
So we have almost the exact same composition, but instead of Greece, we had France. And we had France, Israel, Slovenia, and Turkey, and we're mostly the same. Actually, Slovenia's a real score in the motivation, which was quite surprising. And Israel has a low score in power distance, which for me it wasn't surprising, but the other guys actually found it quite interesting.
Okay.
But everything else is pretty usual.
Correct. Thank you very much. Thank you. Room 3, any comments?
I think room 3 was us. So we had Israel and Slovenia, and we both thought that the metrics were pretty accurate, pretty representing of the actual situation. I noticed there might be a bit of a bias against former communist states like Slovenia, and especially in things like power distance, I'll get a very high score, and motivation towards achievement and success, they were a bit offended by the low score, I think. But other than that, very accurate, I think, on Israel at least. And knowing both countries pretty well, it was surprisingly true to me.
Very well, thank you. Room 4, speaker.
Room 4, we were Israel and Germany and Slovenia, but Slovenia left. So about the points, I would say most likely, first of all, Germany is like above us with everything, but apart from uncertainty avoidance, because let's face it, we live in Israel, and about everything, the points might seem on point. I personally would add the power distance because we got a ranking of 13, which is, in my opinion, is very low. And I would say motivation toward achievements. We were like a half, 47. You know, we live in Israel. We all know it might be like, you know, a little bit higher. And that's it. Other than that, it's all, you know, kind of accurate.
Right. Sorry about that. I've got a sudden disturbance of my cat. Sorry. Okay, very well, thank you. Thank you very much. Room 5.
Yes, so I think we might have been on 5, but I don't actually remember that well.
Okay.
But yeah, so in my group, we were like Israel, Poland, Slovenia. And some of the things we discussed about, for example, the power distance, like with Israel, it's pretty low compared to like the other countries. And that's very true. Like as an Israeli, I know that we don't really have such high power differences, even at workplaces. Even when I was in the military, we didn't put much emphasis on like hierarchies and stuff like that. There's also the uncertainty avoidance, which was surprisingly high in all countries. So the girl in my group that was from Poland said it was very true for her country, that they're really sticking to the rules, very serious about work and stuff like that. For Israel specifically, I don't feel like Israel is that punctual and that serious and likes to stick to the rules. So it actually kind of like surprised me. And there was also individualism, which I think the girl from Slovenia said it was pretty low for her country. It was pretty high for her country, meaning they're very much individualists and they have a small group of friends, a small like family unit. But in Israel, we actually had a pretty high score because we usually have like a pretty low score because we're not that individual. We usually are more in bigger groups, bigger families, bigger groups of friends and stuff like that. So those were the like main things.
Very well. Great analysis. Thank you. Room 6, would that be, or would room 7 now? Lost count.
6.
6, thank you.
So we happen to have only 2 countries, Israel and Poland, and Karen actually just said many things that we've encountered during our analysis. The biggest difference is power distance. We tend to respect authorities in Poland, usually, yes. I guess it's because of the history. And my colleagues from Israel agreed that it's a bit lower there. So that's accurate. And the similarities, the long-term orientation is quite similar between these 2 countries, and 47 and 49 scores means something like no strong preference over anything, yeah. We also noticed that there are some global trends, like the rise of individualism. It's still rated rather low in Poland and only a bit higher in Israel, but we both concluded that it will go up. Certainly it will go up. So yeah, that could be it.
The changes that we are experiencing now. Yeah, very well, thank you. Now room 7.
I think it might be us. I'm not really sure, but I'll just go with it. We were 6 people from 5 different countries: Israel, Armenia, Nigeria, Slovenia, and I don't know if I'm forgetting someone, but forgive me. So I just want to touch on the individualism one because I took it from another perspective. I looked at it as how important it is to live your unique life and have a unique experience. And we do agree that we are an individual society, even though we are put a lot of effort into friends and family. But in our group, we had a discussion and we actually came to an interesting conclusion that everything we're not agreeing with, we say, oh, it might be true, but for an older generation. And we were thinking that a lot of the stuff we weren't agreeing with, they might be true, but not for our generation. And we thought there might be a difference there. Sorry about the noise. And David said potentially projecting the data on different age groups of corresponding countries might not be easy. And he said that there might be a difference in the data according to the age generation. And Nika also said that he thinks that his generation is much more individual than the older generation. George.
Yeah, you're right. The changes, generational changes, they need an update. All these findings, actually, we are going to mention that. Thank you. Next room, whoever they are, number 8 or 9, as you prefer.
I think it's 9 now.
Perfect. You're welcome.
We had 2 countries, Poland and Kosovo. However, Kosovo couldn't be found in the comparison, so the person from Kosovo searched for the closest ethnicity, and that ethnicity proved to be quite hierarchical. However, it turns out to be true also for the older generation. The younger generations are not as hierarchical. And it was similar to our situation in Poland, especially with uncertainty and avoidance, because in Poland we score quite high in uncertainty and avoidance, is 93. And we also agreed that it is true. However, for older people, and we discussed an example of, well, I see that it is true for Poland, especially because I see people who always wait for an opportunity instead of acting. And we also decided that people in Poland often wait for something to happen and they accept a fate, and fate is quite a strong thing here. To just accept and not be sure about what could happen.
Yeah, very well. Faith gives you the structure and predictability, sort of, at least the feeling of, you're right. Very well, thank you. Last but not least, if I counted well. Next, please. I may not have counted well, don't worry about it. Okay. Well,
number 10 or 9 right now?
Pardon?
Is it group number 10 or 9, or are we skipping?
9.
Number
Anthony, 9.
9. Welcome.
9? Oh no, I'm number 10. So
you're welcome with number 10 then.
okay. So our group had so I'm born in Curacao, but I put it Netherlands, but contradicting there. We had Rafa from Moldova, Jose from Spain, Mikael from Poland, and one it was kind of ran out of time. To simplify it, there's Moldova ranked the highest than the rest, but there's also some power differences in Poland and Spain. The most commonality found between Moldova, Poland, and Spain was the uncertainty avoidance. And there was discussed with Jose and Rafa specifically, and maybe it's due to structure, of having structure, right? Then looking in indulgence, it's ranked lower. So the Netherlands ranked the highest in indulgence, while both Moldova and Poland, well, Moldova the lowest, Poland is 29, and Spain kind of in the middle, like 44. And long-term orientation, Moldova had the highest, while it went lower for Netherlands. And Poland and Spain are equal there. And to summarize, that was about it. I'm just keeping it short. But Netherlands does not follow the same culture as Curacao. I'll just go with that. It's a very opposite, similar to Venezuela, if I have to look at it.
Okay. Right. Well, have we got another speaker?
I think that's it.
Yeah, I think that's about it. Thank you. Now, I'm very happy you noticed that not everything is quite as you see it around, because that shows you that no research is ever perfect, and neither is Hofstede's. And Hofstede has been criticized for a number of things, among others, the fact that he does not take into account the fact that cultures can evolve and change. And that's the last point on my list. The first one is research sample, and it's also very much of a weakness in this research, Because if you remember what I said about the actual participants of these of the research, the people who answered questionnaires, they were employees of IBM in the 1990s, 1980s. These were the usually highly educated, male, technically educated individuals. Now, how true is it about someone who lives their life somewhere in agricultural area of a country? How true is it of someone who has never been employed yet, like many of you have not yet been employed and haven't had much experience in corporate culture? Now, that's one of the things that have been contested. National cultures, we all know that within a nation, there may be a lot of cultures. And Poland is the best example. We have a different culture among the people who live in the Tatras, and yet a different one among the people who live at the seaside of the Baltic Sea. And then there are other areas in Poland where cultures differ. Now, bipolarity is another weakness, because Hofstede either puts people into the individualistic or into the collectivist spectrum of the side of the spectrum. And the fact is, in some societies, there may be both of these demonstrated in some behaviors, and the tool does not make it possible to actually notice this fact. So, and these are just some of the issues that I could go on like that. But what I want to just signal, because we will focus on solving possible problems using tools like this one, probably during our meeting in Hania. But if I go for solving my problem with Kostas, using that tool, what would you advise me to go for? If I had a problem like I missed a deadline, I promised Kostas to upload things to Moodle yesterday and I didn't, I did it today. And if I wanted Kostas to forgive me, should I go for an explanation, I'm sorry, I had lots of work to do? Or should I go for an explanation, I'm sorry, I went out with friends last night? Kostas, when would you forgive me?
When you are going to be direct, according to my sense. If you will say me that you are out with your friends and you miss the deadline, probably I'm going to respect it more if you are going to say me bullshitting around, that, it's too difficult, or, I miss. I mean, I would like myself as Kostas to be direct, and, then I will operate. If you start to go around, then I'm going around. So
direct communication. But the fact is, you should not see much difference between both of these, because both Indulger Index and long-term orientation, which values hard work in the long term, are pretty the same for you. 50 and 51, that's for Greece. Now, it is obviously something which I should not have done, testing a theory on a single example. We should never disprove a theory giving a single example. But I just wanted to prove a point that you sometimes try to do it. You try to disprove a theory on what you have noticed once or maybe twice. So on the one hand, I'm very happy you were critical of the tool, because no tool is ever perfect. On the other hand, hold your horses. There might be a grain of truth there, because what we see around is very much limited, and we use research to help us learn about the rest of the world. Just like any book, it gives us insight into other people's minds and other people's experiences. And I hope we will be discussing more of such real life examples, and you'll be preparing all kinds of descriptions. So that will be hands-on meeting, get ready. But for now, I will just move on to conclusions, because I think I need to give my dear colleague 3 minutes.
Yes.
So just make sure you remember to raise your own cultural awareness. Learn about yourself. Yes, learn about the culture of your interlocutor, of the conversation partners, but understand where you come from and how you will feel when other people do something different. Because it's very, very important. When you try to manage communication, you need to manage your emotions first. Listen actively, because through listening, we learn, we find out, and adapt your communication depending on context, depending on the people, depending on the topic, and depending on how you say it. So hopefully that will be it. You will have this presentation in the Moodle course, so you're most welcome. And I will create the quiz on the basis of the information in the presentation, so hopefully you will be fine. That is it. If anybody has got any questions, you're welcome anytime. I haven't created a forum, but I will create a forum in the Moodle, so you can ask me questions in the forum in this particular module as well. Okay?
Thank you, Anna.
Thank you.
Very much. So do not forget, please, the quiz, because it's for the evaluation of the students. This is counts. And I would like to provide the floor now to our colleague Samia, that's going to prepare you for the next session next week. So Samia, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Anna. Thank you, Kostas. So next time I'm going to follow up on, am I sharing the screen? Yes. So I'm going to continue the discussion on intercultural competence. We're going to be analyzing critical scenarios, incidents that are based on misunderstanding between different cultures. And we will engage in an activity, culture in a box. This is a holiday season. It's a time to exchange gifts, to send and receive gifts. We're gonna meet next week where we will talk about, it's a simulation of culture in a box when you send the other a gift for the holiday, but we will do it differently. In order to prepare for the activity, you will discuss with your colleagues from your university, your other students, which objects you like to present to your partners from another country, from another culture or country. You will brainstorm ideas, different options, and you decide what object you will bring to the session and introduce and present them to the others from different cultures. The objects that you will bring and show on this, like to others from other cultures and countries, will present some of the customs, traditions that are typical for the holiday seasons or that are characteristics of your community. Examples include typical dish, simple, famous building, stamp, clothing, famous painting, piece of music, bracelets, model of transport, saying, handicraft, and so on. Please be creative and bring new ideas, add new ideas to the list. So next time you're gonna share information to relate it to the item that you will bring. Each one of you will bring an item, an object, and you will present it to the other. Okay, that's all that I wanted. I think, Kostas, we will send this with the invitation that you sent.
Yes, please, send it to me tonight in order to prepare it.
Okay, I will.
And
okay, so
yeah.
That's one activity in addition to another 2 activities that I want you to engage in next time. And thank you, Elena, for the inspiration and for sharing the activity.
Thank you. Thank you very much, both of you and Anna, for the today's, lecture. I'm going to upload the lecture, the recording. Anna already has uploaded, the transparencies and additional reading material or whatever, and she's going to upload the quiz. As well, I will upload also the evaluation that you should do after each lecture. It's a part of the process. I would like to thank you very much and speak you next week. Take care and see you soon. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Ευχαριστώ. Επίσης.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Kalispera,
Bye-bye.
Kostas.
Eh?
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Bye-bye.